This is VOA Africa.
Good evening, I'm Esther Giduyuwat. It's Wednesday, May 8th. This is Africa 54.
South Africans vote in their 6th national democratic election after apartheid. Kenya taps into technology in a bid to attract young people to farming. And a dramatization of the kidnapping of the Chibok schoolgirls in Nigeria hits the stage in Washington, D.C.
South African voters are casting their ballots Wednesday in a historic national election 25 years after the end of apartheid that could present the biggest challenge yet to the long-ruling African National Congress. While many voters in the nation's economic hub say they are conflicted about their choice, many also say they cherish the chance to participate in Africa's most mature democracy. VOA's Anita Powell reports from Johannesburg.
A historic day as South Africa holds its 6th parliamentary elections since the nation ended apartheid in 1994. And for the 6th time in a row, the ruling African National Congress is expected to win and retain power. But corruption scandals and the sluggish economy have tainted the ANC's image and led some voters to defect to opposition parties like the Democratic Alliance and the Economic Freedom Fighters. In South Africa's economic hub, some younger voters say they struggled to choose.
It felt exciting and a bit challenging because of the different parties that are there, but I was very much excited to exercise my rights today.
Other voters, like longtime ANC supporter Bobby Madhav, said the choice was simple.
Pretty easy. There's only one party that we grew up with in the struggle, and we hope that they do the right thing going forward.
South African journalist Musi Mogotlane said the next government has a big job on its hands.
The main problem South Africa has to deal with first is fighting the demon we call corruption within our government structures. If we can deal with that and we're able to make sure that the money that the fiscus has is distributed equitably within society to improve their lives and to make sure that those who are responsible for corruption are punished and are punished severely, then there is a direction that South Africa can take for the improvement of everyone else's life.
Final results are expected May 11th. The winning party will elect the next president, who will be sworn in later this month.
Now, for more on South Africa's elections, VOA Southern Africa correspondent Anita Powell joins me live via Skype from Johannesburg. Good evening, Anita.
Hello.
Now, you visited a couple of polling stations this morning. What are the voters telling you?
So I spoke to a number of voters this morning when I visited polling stations across Johannesburg, and I heard a number of different things from voters. I heard voters who were apathetic, I heard voters who were enthusiastic, and I heard voters who overall said, we're just glad that we get to participate in this democratic exercise.
Now, Anita, what is different about these elections, which is being called historic, and especially when you think about the young voters who were not eligible to vote in the last elections?
So what is important about this election is that the cloud, or let's just say stink, of corruption hangs over all of the political parties, or most of the political parties participating in this exercise. And that has led to pretty much universal voter disgust. And as you mentioned, that has led 6 million young voters to just not register for this poll because they feel apathetic or they feel disgusted or they feel left out. So that is what's different, and this could translate into a loss of votes. Not a loss, absolutely, but a loss of votes for the powerful African National Congress.
So, Anita, when you listen to South Africans generally, what do they want to see change after the new leader comes in?
To a man and woman, South Africans have told me, and this is in the last few months reporting in the run-up to this election, they've told me that they want to see an end to corruption. They want to see justice. They want to see those who've been accused of corruption punished, or rather have their day in court and then maybe punished if it's appropriate. They want to see an improvement in their way of life. As I've reported, in South Africa, we've had problems with the power system. We've had rolling blackouts because the state-owned utility has not been able to meet demand. These are a number of things that pretty much every voter across this land would like to see improved.
Any issues today with the voting?
So I just read the latest report from the Electoral Commission. They said voting is going smoothly and steadily. Right now it's about 6:30 in the evening, and we have 2.5 hours left of voting. So far they've reported no major problems. There have been some hiccups in some rural areas. There have been some issues with a supply of ballot papers in a few isolated polling stations. But overall, the Electoral Commission has said that it's gone smoothly and steadily.
Anita, many thanks. VOA's Anita Powell reporting live via Skype from Johannesburg. Now, Sudan's military rulers say they generally agree with the proposals made by protest leaders on the structure of an interim government, but what Islamic Sharia laws and local norms to guide legislation. Protesters whose months of street demonstrations triggered the ouster of longtime President Omar al-Bashir continue to apply pressure for change, calling on the military council to quickly hand over power to civilians. Meanwhile, this week marks the start of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. Jason Patikin has more from Khartoum.
It's a time of celebration in Sudan's capital as protesters mark 1 month since starting a sit-in demonstration that saw the ouster of President Omar al-Bashir from power. Another reason to celebrate, the start of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. Despite the fasting and heat, protesters vow they will not leave until Sudan's new rulers, a military council, hand power to civilians.
There's thirst, there's hunger, there's tiredness. But you're aiming for a goal and you must get to it. All these things, if they don't make you weaker, they will only make you stronger. It will give you a push forward to reach our goal, which is a civilian government, a democratic government, and a country for citizens with equal rights.
Protesters organize an iftar evening meal to break the daily fast, with food for over 2,000 people, say volunteers. Bashir ruled for 30 years and is accused of corruption, atrocities, and curbing basic freedoms. While youth have led Sudan's revolution, people of all ages joined for Ramadan in a show of solidarity.
We want the freedom to change the situation. The pressure has become too much. We want freedom. That's all.
As the call to prayer sounds at dusk, the protesters at last take their first sips of water and bites of food since dawn. Volunteer Khalda Camille Abukar brought food and drinks to share. She hopes by the end of Ramadan, Sudan will have a civilian government.
We hope the sit-in can bring an honorable result, not just for Sudan, but for the whole world. If the demands of the youth are met, Sudan is going to have civility, safety, and the country will move forward.
Their iftar meal finished, the protesters hydrate for the coming day. Then it's back to celebrating Ramadan and Sudan's revolution. Jason Patinkin for VOA News, Khartoum.
Members of a suburban Washington, D.C. mosque are being trained on how to respond to an active shooter situation. Worshippers are learning how to take security measures to protect themselves and save the lives of others. This training follows mass shootings at houses of worship around the world, including in New Zealand, where 51 people were killed at a mosque, and another shooting at a Pittsburgh synagogue that claimed 11 lives. VOA's Nilofa Mughal reports from Arlington, Virginia.
This is Beit al-Mukarram Mosque in Arlington, Virginia. Worshippers have finished their prayer session, but they are staying for a lesson from an Arlington County police officer.
So today we want to talk about how to respond to an active shooter event.
Officers are teaching worshippers what to do if someone opens fire in the mosque.
The purpose of active shooter training is to prepare the public to have the tools necessary in case an act of violence should take place.
Worshippers say they welcome this kind of training.
It was wonderful. I am very much happy for being here and learning the techniques to escape some of the unexpected shooting situations in public places, especially in the mosque.
I really appreciate the Arlington County police officer that they care about us. They really, really care about us.
This training is based on the best practices of U.S. Department of Homeland Security. It promotes the run, hide, and fight model. It urges people first to run away from a shooter if possible. If not, officials urge people to hide and finally to fight back and do everything humanly possible to survive.
I think it was good because at least it got me thinking and it made me not feel like so helpless. You know, and it's encouraging to have even police officers tell you, like, even just doing a little thing, like hiding under a desk with a trash can, can save your life. That's good news.
Some places, like an office building, you can hide in the bathroom and lock the door.
Mosque leaders say they decided to offer this training after the latest attacks on the mosque and synagogues.
We imams had a meeting in the area. We thought that New Zealand kind of incident can happen anywhere. Therefore, we decided to have this program. For this, we reached out to Islamic Circle of North America for help. They organized this training with the help of local police department.
So the most important thing the police need to know is, where are you? What the location? Okay, so that is the first thing you need to get out.
The training is provided to all religious communities. Officers say they hope the worshippers will be as prepared as possible, but never have to use the lessons they have learned. Niloufar Mughal, VOA News, Arlington, Virginia.
The Douglas County Sheriff in the western U.S. state of Colorado says 2 students, one male age 18 and one female, a juvenile, armed with handguns, killed a classmate and wounded 8 others in an attack at a charter school Tuesday. The shooting happened in 2 separate areas of science, technology, engineering, and math school in Highlands Ranch, located just south of Denver. Douglas County Sheriff Tony Spurlock told reporters that deputies arrived at the school just minutes after gunshots were reported and that they arrested the 2 suspects after a struggle.
This is a terrible event. This is something that no one wants to have happen in their community. We're going to investigate that, and we will get to the bottom of it to figure out how and what has occurred. Because we are likely to have a criminal prosecution in this case, there's not going to be a lot of information that is going to be shared about the details of those issues.
Sheriff Spurlock says neither suspect was previously known to authorities. Parents who rushed to the school after reports of a shooting were diverted to a nearby recreational center to pick up children who were brought there by bus after evacuating the school. The White House has expressed its support for the community and law enforcement as they investigate the attack. STEM School Highlands Ranch is located only minutes from Columbine High School, the site of a 1999 attack where 2 students killed 13 people. We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also, check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, using technology to attract young Kenyans into farming.
Could be French,
English,
Portuguese,
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African Beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/African Beat.
I am Sheikh Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
The lyrics could be French,
English,
Portuguese,
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African Beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/AfricanBeat.
I am Sheikh Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
I'm Clara Frank, and here's what's trending. The Nanhua Academy in South Africa's Gauteng province is training young women from low-income homes to become professional performers, while also giving them free academic scholarships and promoting cultural exchange between China and Africa. Funded by Africa's largest Buddhist temple, the program brings together girls from underdeveloped and rural areas. Started in 2013, the all-girls troupe has grown significantly. As part of their training, the girls who must apply to join are taught computer skills and Mandarin. They're also given free academic scholarships and taught the principles of Buddhism. Next up, for celebrity mothers in Hollywood, postpartum and nursing fashion trends now focus on a desire for style and self-expression. And it seems the maxi dress is pressing all the right buttons. Light, free-flowing, with craftily created hidden slits to enable easy breastfeeding, these clothes are understandably popular. Designer jeans are altered to have side panels that stretch and retract with the body. Another big trend is the knit shirt, made of modal cotton paired with nursing camisoles that have easy access straps for public breastfeeding. And that's what's trending today.
It's time for our tech segment, and joining us now is our technology reporter, Paul Ndiho. Paul, what do you have?
Thank you, Esther. Kenyan innovators are betting on digital technologies to attract younger people to agriculture, a field currently dominated by an aging population with 99% of mobile phone penetration, according to the nation's Communications Authority. The cell phone is an important source of extension services in areas where such services are not available. Sarah Kimani reports from Kano, Kenya.
As a young girl in central Kenya, Penina Wanja witnessed firsthand the challenge of rearing cattle without professional help.
Growing up in a farm where my mom had 2 cows, poorly managed, and I normally give this story. They could give us 2 cups of milk and they could be milked anytime.
As a practicing extension officer, she noticed information gaps made farmers grope in the dark and rely on trial and error in their day-to-day farming activities. The results, low productivity.
It's a gap that I saw because when you look at even the statistics and the nature that is on the ground, our government has provided at least 1 extension officer to close to 4,000 farmers. So there is actually a need for these critical services.
It is then that she came up with DigiCow, a mobile phone application offering expert advice to farmers that also allows them to keep up-to-date records. Stanley Kamau was among the early users of the app. A year since its launch, Kamau talks of increased milk yields, healthier herds, and a well-organized farm.
They got a platform on the app where
we say, for example, during the time for meeting, you keep your records, then you get to know when your cow may calf down. But in the old way, you used to take dates. You do the cumbersome work of counting down.
80% of Kenya's population is made up of small-scale farmers, according to the World Bank. DigiCow is an example of how technology can be used to bridge the knowledge gaps in the sector. It is also a way of encouraging Kenya's unemployed youth to farm, according to Boniface Akuku, an information and communications expert in Nairobi.
Research says that the average age of a Kenyan farmer is 60, which is almost a retired person. That's the age of either going to retirement or almost a retired person. That person has no energy. So what we need is what I would call mind change philosophy. We need to change the mind of our people to encourage young people to engage into farming. Otherwise, if that does not change, the uptake of this technology will be zero.
Mobile-based solutions make sense in Kenya as information can reach millions of people. Wanja says 3,500 farmers use her app.
African agriculture must be disrupted, and we have no way about it. Even if we don't disrupt it by technology, already climate is disrupting it.
To deal with issues of illiteracy, DigiCow has a voice-based service that Wanja says has proved of help to the older farmer. Sarah Kimani for VOA News, Kenya.
That's today's Tech Reporter. Back to you, Esther.
Oh, thank you very much for that report. Be sure to join Paul Ndiho each Wednesday for another tech segment on Africa 54. There's a school in northern Kenya helping girls who might not otherwise receive an education. VOA Swahili Hoba Abdi takes us to Umkahel Girls' Home in the report narrated here by Aida Isa.
15-year-old Ismahan Abdi Nasir is among hundreds of orphaned or destitute girls who are getting a chance at a brighter future through education. Sponsored by the local charity Womankind Kenya, the boarding school in Garissa provides academic instruction as well as healthcare, meals, accommodation and clothing for girls who Abdi Nasser says live in a culture where school is not a top priority.
Kids in the northeastern provinces have problems with education because of water problems. So instead of kids going to school, parents are asking them to stay at home and fetch water.
Manager Sahara Mohammed says many girls at the school are escaping early marriage or female genital mutilation.
Umul Khair is helping these girls so they can get opportunities to study. If they are just wandering outside, they won't get this chance. We want to help them so they can help themselves later in life.
Hawa Abdurrahman came to the school when she was 5 years old and had just lost both her parents. Working hard, she won a college scholarship and felt such pride in the school's work that she has returned to help other girls.
Education. In
terms of education, they helped me to the college, and now I have returned here to work with them. I'm very happy and I want to help young girls to benefit the way I benefited myself.
Head teacher Alex Esikuri says the school's work is slowly changing local perceptions about the importance of educating girls.
There are different cultures that do not give importance to young girls in this region. We speak to parents and community leaders all the time about the importance of educating young girls.
One of the biggest challenges here remains early marriage. As school officials say, girls who are married off at 15 have little chance of completing their studies. For Huba Abdi in Garissa, I'm Aida Isa, VOA, Washington, D.C.
Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari made crushing Boko Haram terrorists a pillar of his 2015 election campaign and vowed to spare no effort in ensuring all abducted Nigerians are freed. However, his administration has failed to defeat the insurgents who have been waging attacks since 2009. The mass abduction of the Chibok schoolgirls has in 2014 brought Boko Haram into global focus. For more on the many ways in which the Chibok girls are being honored and remembered, let's turn to Africa 54 Managing Editor Vincent Makori.
Well, thank you. Now, it has been 5 years since the abduction of 276 schoolgirls at Chibok in northeastern Nigeria. The mass seizure, the most infamous action of Boko Haram's jihadist insurgency, sparked a global outcry. The hashtag #BringBackOurGirls social media campaign. So far, 107 of the girls have been found or rescued by the Nigerian military or freed in negotiations between the government and Boko Haram. Relatives of the abducted girls and sympathizers have been relentless in demanding that the government locate the remaining missing girls and return them to their families. Boko Haram has killed more than 20,000 people and forced about 2 million to flee their homes since it began its terrorist insurgence in 2009, aimed at creating an Islamic state in the northeast of Nigeria. Now, the Chibok girls, our story, is the work of testimonial theater about the abduction of 276 girls from their school in the Nigerian town of Chibok by the Boko Haram in 2014, written and directed by Wole Oguntokun. The distressing story is being presented here in Washington alongside Nobel Prize-winning playwright and author Wole Soyinka, who will premiere excerpts from his brand new work, A Humanist Ode for Chibok, Leah. Now, to tell us more about it, I am joined by Ambassador Cynthia Schneider, Co-Director, Laboratory for Global Performance and Politics, Georgetown University. Ambassador Schneider, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, just start briefly by telling us about this lab that you guys are running.
The goal of the Laboratory for Global Performance and Politics, which is a signature interdisciplinary initiative with me representing international affairs and diplomacy and my colleague and co-director, Professor Derek Goldman, representing theater and the performing arts. It's a signature initiative jointly housed in the School of Foreign Service and the College of Arts and Sciences at Georgetown. Our mission at the lab is to humanize global politics through the power of performance. We take issues such as that of the abduction of the Chibok girls, Boko Haram, and present it on stage and present the actual stories of the people affected. And in doing this, we want to bring these stories to life through the voices of the people who've experienced them before policymakers and impact the policy around it.
In many cases, actually, theater is about entertainment, and people get to see either stories that are really fiction and sometimes may reflect some historical time. How has this been, what has been the response? Because it has already actually started playing.
We actually premiered the Chibok Girls last night, the Chibok Girls, our story last night, and the audience, I have to say, was deeply, deeply moved. They sprang immediately to their feet and gave a standing ovation. We had many questions in the talkback session, which we will have both nights. We'll have also tonight. There are 2 more performances, tonight and tomorrow night. Tonight we'll have Gus Casely-Hayford, the director of the African Museum, in conversation with the artists. Tomorrow night we will have Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield, who was responsible for American policy at the time.
Thank you.
In conversation with them.
That's about it. And thank you, Ambassador Schneider. And that's about it. Have a good